San Diego Padres on their way to playing some hot baseball. That's right. Could October be the month that the Padres will play more baseball? Well, we'll let the guy, George Terris, tell you all about that. Where I'm the host of Sideline Sports Podcast, Alex Naveca, where if you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast, a source of all SoCal sports. And with me today is the host of On the Black podcast, and even the president of Cal State San Marcos club baseball team, George Terris, and a very good colleague of mine over at Cal State San Marcos. George, thank you so much for being on the show. And you know what? I'm so excited to talk about some Padres baseball, or as you guys like to call them, the San Diego Padres.
That's right, Alex. Good. Thank you for having me on the show as well. I'm really excited to talk baseball in general, and then Padres especially. First time being excited for a while with contending Padres baseball, and I'm excited to see where these next 30 games will go with the Padres. After seeing these first 30 games, I'm excited.
Well, you know what? Padres are looking real good. They're right behind the Dodgers and some real good milestones. I mean, everyone says the whole Tatis Jr. hitting the grand slam on the 3-0 and that whole scandal, but everybody's in agreement. He's a young kid trying to enjoy himself and play baseball, and he's at the top with Mike Trout and being the best player in baseball right now, George. But you know what? I know you have a lot to talk about right now. First of all, before we even start, what's On the Black podcast about, and what are you guys working on right now?
So On the Black podcast is actually a podcast that started throughout our club baseball team, meeting 3 other teammates of mine. It actually just started all natural. After practices, we would sit in the parking lot and just talk baseball for maybe an hour and a half. And then my co-host Brady, so I'm going to introduce him a little bit as well. Not on the show, but I'll give you a little introduction of each podcaster. He said, we should start a podcast. And I smiled in a way, and I was thinking, really? And he's like, yeah, we talk baseball every day after practice. Why not? And I was like, you know what? That's a good idea. And my co-host, Nick and Sean, also were big fans of it. And we started the podcast last summer of 2019. And it's been such a good way to collaborate ideas with baseball and just talk fun about the game. It's not, yes, we talk about controversies and stuff, but the game is meant to be fun and for the fans, right? And the players, yes, they make careers out of everything, but they are very appreciative of the fans. And we can see that during the COVID times right now, that it's hard for them to play without some of the fans there. And they're doing it for us, even though we're behind the screen. It's great to see them still playing, regardless of a 60-game season.
Absolutely. I think the fans are really happy just to be able to have a season in general and just to be able to see some baseball. And I think that's helping all the baseball fans get through this pandemic right now. And, you know, just being able to see some sports, it's really bringing all of us together as fans and really, you know, just getting us through these tough times, George. But you know what? Before we even start talking about the Padres, let's see that shirt. I know you're dying to show the shirt.
Oh yeah, Padres baseball, or back in brown, which I'm super excited about. My mom and my family has always been telling me that's when we were good, right? Back in the brown. And Padres had their time when they transitioned to the blue, white, and orange, right? And that was like the Trevor Hoffman, Tony Gwynn era, right? And then we went to the blue, and now we're back in brown, which is, at first, it was hard to change. It was a hard change at first. Now I'm like pretty excited with the new jerseys. They look great. I'm not sure if you've seen them, all 3, but they look really good.
Oh, it's a sweet look, man. It's a very sweet look. I really do get the little Friar with swinging the bat vibes. You know which logo I'm talking about for the Padres. Back in the day when they were called the Friars. I mean, I know they still call them the Friars, but, you know, still having just is getting those Friar vibes. But you know what? Those Padres, a dangerous team, and this is a team that coming into this baseball season was a very sneaky and a very good team coming in. You look at that order, you look at that lineup, and oh my gosh, it is an absolute scary lineup to go through. And I mean, the Dodgers have even struggled against the Padres, and they've given the Dodgers their money's worth and it's been a fun series. And I know you can vouch for me on those Dodgers and Padres series. But George, what has made these Padres so red hot right now? I mean, played so well against the Rangers, and I'm gonna put it out there, sweeping the 2017 World Series champions, the Astros. That is a huge accomplishment, and that just goes to show you how serious these Padres are. What has worked so well for them?
I think every single player that AJ Preller, the organization that saw potential in, is playing to their full potential. And we've also seen these new guys take their positions and really succeed, as Jay Cronenworth, and Trent Grisham, two key players of this team. And of course, Tatis. We got Machado. Hosmer's going to his full potential. Back in when he was with Kansas City, he's looking like that Hosmer again. And Will Myers, he's looking like that Rookie of the Year candidate, or Rookie of the Year in 2000. What was it? 13.
13.
Yeah, 13. That's right. Yeah. So I think everybody is playing to their full potential, and then we also have new players that are really contributing to these veteran guys. And then you got Tatis. Oh my God, he acts like a veteran with how experienced he is, with how he plays. He's just having fun, and that's, I think, sets the standard for the whole team. That the 3-0 count, yeah, that's one of those things. There's an old rule, but it was an unwritten rule. But now I think baseball's changing. He's making it fun again. And look, it put us on the map, and fans are loving it. And I think that's, even though there's no fans in that stadium, the corral of the media is really supporting these Padres, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it for sure.
Definitely. I feel like the Padres, yeah, they are back in baseball topics. A lot of people are like, hey, are you seeing these Padres right now? They're no joke right now. I mean, it must be the unis. It must be that going back to the mustard and the brown old school uniforms there. But, what was it exactly? What else was it that helped the Padres go from that 4th place in the National League West? And then in the very next week, they're 2nd in the National League West. Like, that's outstanding. Yeah. That is ridiculous. I mean, I know the National League West is in, one of those really highly competitive divisions like the National League Central. But, how did the Padres do it with the hot start for the Colorado Rockies?
They're pitching. Right now, it's kind of, I'd say it's there, but not consistent yet. I think their pitching has been good from Lamet. Lamet has been good. Davies has shown his worth. He started off a little slow, but he's getting there now. Having Garrett Richards as that veteran presence for these guys. Chris Paddock will get back into it. I think his pitching is great. Our bullpen with Pomeranz was good before he got injured. And Yates having that injury as well was hard. But like with his full potential, I think this team will really do well. And I think, yeah, the hard start, I think, has to do with that offense. That offense is stirring it up for the guys. And I think they're working off each other, and they love it. They love it for sure. So.
Absolutely. Every one of those guys in that offense are just doing an excellent job swinging the bat. Now, besides Fernando Tatis, who would you say is one of the bigger contributors? You have to say one name. I know there's so many guys in that lineup. Only one.
Well, everybody talks about getting rid of Renfroe, right? Last December, and Pham being the big key of that trade, right? But no one saw Cronenworth coming up with that utility and versatile style of playing, and he is such a contributor to this team. He has the highest average. I know he's only played 25 games, I believe, but he has a 340 average right now. We haven't had multiple players with over 300 averages in quite some time. So it's great to see players like Cronenworth and Tatis over 300 with their batting average. But, man, Cronenworth, when he was put on that roster, he was able to do anything he was asked to do. Played first base when Hosmer wasn't feeling too well. He did a stellar job there. Looked like a Gold Glover at times there. He's hitting the ball really well. He's seeing the ball, and no one saw it coming. So Jay Cronenworth is definitely the guy that I think has supported this team, aside from Tatis, like you were saying.
Cronenworth looks like just such a smooth first baseman. It looks like he's been playing there his whole entire life since Little League. He looks so fundamental. His hands look so smooth. He looks so clean there, so comfortable there at first as well. And that guy has such a big stick, what you would expect from a first baseman. Now, to talk about it, besides the Dodgers, do you see any other team getting in the way of the San Diego Padres? Or even then, do you see the Padres getting through the Dodgers?
That the Dodgers are going to do what they're going to do. They're going to keep on winning. I don't think they've lost a series this year, I believe. So they haven't lost a series, right?
No.
So they're going to do what they're going to do. Arizona and Colorado were a threat, maybe I'd say 20 games in the season, but I'm not sure what's going to happen. But also you have another 30 games. You don't know what's going to happen in that second half, right? So it's hard to tell, but I think we're going to stick in there with second, or even, we're only 4 games behind, so you never know what can change in these next 30 games. But in our schedule, we got through our tough part of the schedule in the first half, and sweeping the whole state of Texas was huge to get us where we are right now.
You guys had your way against both Texas teams, and I think that's where the Padres are getting a lot of confidence right now and definitely feeling really good about themselves right now. So now, final question of the first half, George. What is something that you want the Padres to improve on?
So I've thought this for a while, even in previous seasons, but I think the offense from our catchers, our whole catcher crew, I think we need to get some offense out of that, and maybe that's something we can foresee in the future off seasons, such as maybe JT Realmuto or whatever in free agency, right? But also solidifying, and I know we have 3 injuries right now with Jose Castillo, Kirby Yates, and Drew Pomeranz in the bullpen, but solidifying that bullpen would keep us contenders. And then Paddock, pitchers like Paddock, and I'm not giving up on him yet at all, but there's some things that players need to tweak to get to their potential, because Paddock has more potential. He was Rookie of the Year candidate last year. And as Tatis, aside, there's a lot that I think can change, but I think we're where we need to be. We will be contenders for a while. Sorry, I'm flustering my words a little bit, but we'll be contenders, I think, for a while. We're just on the uprise right now.
George, it looks like the Padres are here to stay. Don't sleep on the Slam Diego Padres. They're looking quite good offensively, and even that pitching staff still looking pretty solid. But we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the San Diego Padres' needs as far as the trade deadline is concerned, and even talk a little bit about the Halos and see, is David Fletcher really going to go? Are the Angels really going to let him go? So make sure to stay tuned for the second half here on Sideline Sports Podcast, where if you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast, the source of all SoCal sports news.
This is George Terris here on the Black Baseball Talk podcast host and CSUSM Baseball Club president, and you're listening to Sideline Sports Podcast.
Welcome back to Sideline Sports Podcast. Again, I'm the host, Alex Naveja, and of course, the source of all SoCal sports. If you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast. And with me again today is the host of On the Black Podcast and also the president of the Cal State San Marcos Club baseball team, and George Terris. First half, we were talking about why the Padres have been so good, what has made them going from 4th place to the National League West all the way to the 2nd place spot right behind the Dodgers, only 4 games back. So that race will be something to watch for on that end. So now, George, with the trade deadline coming up this Monday at 1 o'clock, what do the Padres need to address? Or do you think they need to address anything?
I do think with the injuries we have in the bullpen, we will need to maybe find one solid reliever if we were to do anything at the deadline, and then maybe an offensive catcher. But to be honest, I don't think, unless Preller does some crazy stuff this 60-game season, I don't think we're going to touch much. We do have our extension roster at USD that we can totally pick from. There's talks about Mackenzie Gore coming up in that starting rotation to kind of help out those guys. But from what I think right now, I think we're going to stay still, and there's not much the Padres. Why mess with our mojo? We're doing pretty well, and I think we just got to keep it up. Hopefully those injuries like Pomeranz and Yates and Castillo can even come back by the end of the season. That's the goal, I think, with their bullpen.
Well, George, I actually like the Padres being able to stay put. I mean, there's not really a market for catchers right now. And as far as the bullpen is concerned, not much of a market as well. It looks like it's more of a starting pitching market right now. Not a lot out there as of now. But, you know, Austin Hedges is a great catcher behind the dish, does all the defensive things right. He's very good at framing pitches, very good throwing guys out. He has an excellent arm behind there, but I have to say that bat just needs to wake up, man. That bat is something that he lacks very much. So I think I like that move. The JT Realmuto signing in the offseason would be something that would be an excellent pickup for the Padres. So I really like that move, George. What do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think with the Padres right now, keeping put, it is a good idea. But when moving forward, we got to look for the offseason. Maybe a very offensive catcher like JT Realmuto would fit the squad. But you can't let go of Hedges' talent, like you said there. He's a great defensive catcher. And so I think a good pickup for the San Diego Padres would be an offensive catcher that can really help that offense. Their offense is great right now, and Hedges' defense is great, but to have that bat in the lineup would really contribute to a contending playoff team. So I think we're going to stay put now, and I think we got to look towards future off seasons for a possible catching position for the San Diego Padres.
And I mean, you and I both know it, George. The Padres have always been an off-season team. They've always been that team to make a ton of splashes in the off-season as far as trades, as far as signings are concerned. But now, talking about another team that's about off-season splashes and moves, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. They are in a pretty bad situation right now. They're dead last of the AL West. They are sitting with the worst record in baseball at the moment. And they have put a lot of guys out in the trade block. Some names like their catcher, Jason Castro, their starting pitcher, Dylan Bundy. They've also even put up the name David Fletcher. That's their second best player on their team. And you know what? Fletcher is a very underrated infielder. So my question to you, George, is who do you think is for sure going? Who is going to be traded away to that Angels team?
It's hard to say with who they're going to move with all the splashes they already made in the offseason with signing Trout to that huge extension recently in the past year and having Rendon added to that roster. I think they really need to dial in and focus on that pitching though, and whether they can trade big names like Dylan Bundy or David Fletcher for a package deal that would help them in the future. Because they're supposed to be contenders now, but with the way they're looking, maybe they should take a step back and look for the future. Definitely before Trout retires. So come on, you got 10 more solid years. That guy's gonna be good for a while, Mike Trout. But you gotta get him a World Series ring. So you gotta think about that as well. I know that's Trout is not the only player you should focus on, but it would be really cool to see him with a World Series title.
Oh, absolutely. I think Mike Trout, he's a player that, hey, come on, give the kid a break. He needs to win a championship one time in his life. I mean, he has that championship mentality about him. He plays every out. He plays every at-bat like it's the last one. That guy is one guy that is worthy of a World Series. Now, I have to also say that if someone does leave, it will be Bundy. Even
Yep.
though Angels already gave away some prospects over to the Orioles, and I think Bundy's going to be the guy to leave. I just don't see the Angels really even being serious about moving Fletcher. This is a guy that you keep that is the future of the Angels. And this is a player you want to keep throughout the whole entire reconstruction. And like you said, the Angels were a team that they were looking like they were going to contend and they were going to make a move there in the AL West to keep up with the A's and the Astros. But now they're back to where they're at. And I think they should focus on their future, focus on getting those prospects, moving some guys and getting some of those prospects in return. They don't have the greatest farm system in the game. So I believe that they do need to do that. So my final question to you, George, is what are the chances that David Fletcher does get moved?
They're not in a win now situation, so I don't think there's any urgency. Yes, they're trying to look for their future, but build around him, Rendon, and Trout, right? You got to have players like that will solidify your future, and then you can work around it, patch those holes. Now that's my opinion. Who knows what will happen in the next few days with the trade deadline coming Monday? It usually to the last hour, to the last minute, sometimes can be hectic with the trade deadline. So it all depends on what Billy Epler's plan is, right? So we really don't know yet.
So David Fletcher, I think he's going to end up staying here with the Angels. I really think that was more of a move that the Angels proposed to see if anybody's really serious about acquiring in him and really trying to give up a ton of prospects and big time prospects and ranked in MLB.com. So I think he's going to stick around. Dylan Bundy's going to be traded away. If you ask me a team, I'm still not sure, but I just know for sure he's going to be traded away because of how much the starting rotation market is in need. But that's all the time we have left. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning into this one. And thank you to everybody who tuned into the 1-year anniversary special with this guest appearance of Jorge Carrin. That was my gift to all of the supporters and all of the viewers out there. Just thank you so much for coming out, for supporting the podcast, and for always showing that love. And of course, you know what? We're right around the corner from 200 subscribers, guys. So let's keep it going. The Sideline Sports Podcast is only going up from there. And if you guys like this episode, please give this video a thumbs up. Also hit the subscription button down below and hit the notification bell so you guys know when we're uploading and you guys could be on alert when we upload podcast episodes. And of course, thank you to the On the Black host podcast, and of course the Cal State San Marcos Club Baseball president in George Terris for coming on to the show today.
Well, thank you for having me, Alex. I really appreciate it. It's always great to talk baseball, and especially during these times where baseball is such an important part of our lives and keep us going through this COVID pandemic. And thank you so much, and it was great being on.
It was an absolute pleasure to have you on to the show, George. Where can everyone see On the Black?
So we have Apple Podcast, Spotify. We also have an Instagram and Twitter. Our handle is On the Black Podcast. We are On the Black Baseball Talk Podcast on all of our streaming podcast streams. And you can follow me on George Terris 6 on Instagram as well. So George Terris, George, Terris spelled Terris, and then the number 6. So thank you guys. And thank you, Alex, for the support here.
It's my pleasure, George. We'll make sure to put all of your social media down in the description below so you guys can follow up on the Black Podcast and also see what George is up to today in supporting his San Diego Padres. And once again, if you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast, the source of all SoCal sports. Have a good one, everybody. Stay safe. I'm Alex Naveja signing off. Have a good one.